Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat with Dr. Foojan.
What if your emotional life didn't have to feel like a constant reaction or a constant recovery? Welcome to the International Awareness Integration Institute Virtual Clinic, a global online clinic offering psychotherapy, coaching, integrative well-being services, and mind-body practices, all in one place. At International Awareness Integration Institute, we don't just talk about change, we train it. Our work is guided by awareness integration theory, an evidence-based psychological and educational model designed to reduce anxiety and depression patterns, strengthen emotional regulation, and help you build a life that feels meaningful, steady, and fulfilling. Whether you're navigating stress, relationship strain, burnout, life transitions, trauma symptoms, or simply the feeling that you've outgrown your old life, you'll find a clear path forward here, supported by licensed professionals and expert practitioners. If you're ready to feel better, think clearer, and live fully, join the International Awareness Integration Institute Virtual Clinic today. Visit awarenessintegration.com and book your first session or join our membership.
I started looking into the concept of grace. I always thought grace was having a burden removed. Grace was, I'm going to take the challenge away from you so that way you can be happy. But I've also learned that anything of value comes with challenge. And grace is not something that is just given to you freely, in that it is given to you freely, but it's not meant to take away challenges. It's meant to help you to be that for someone else. You think about it, more than anything, what we want is we want to be understood. When I'm suffering, I want somebody to understand what I'm going through. And the only way that someone understands what I'm going through is when they have empathy, they understand, they've experienced that. And so for me, grace is having the struggle become consecrated to my gain and to the blessing of other people. So that way I can help bear their burden and be that support and understanding. That's what I've understand grace to become for me, is vulnerability, strength, and compassion.
Introducing a powerful new update from the Foojan app. Now with flexible subscription plans to fit your journey monthly, quarterly, or yearly. Our new AI-driven onboarding customizes your path to feeling better, faster, and enjoy a refreshed experience with stunning 3D interactive videos. Update now. Empower your inner voice with Foojan. Download today. If you've been doing your best, but still feel stuck in anxiety, relationship stress, or the weight of old patterns, this is where things begin to shift. At the Awareness Integration Institute Virtual Clinic, we offer something different. We provide two pathways forward. In psychotherapy, our licensed clinicians help heal unresolved trauma, reduce anxiety and depression, and navigate life transitions. In coaching, our certified coaches help you build confidence, leadership, and relationship mastery, turning insight into decisive action. Both are guided by Dr. Foojan Zain's evidence-based awareness integration theory, a structured roadmap from awareness to integration to action. During our summit, save 25% on all services from March 22nd through 29th. Visit awarenessintegration.com to book your first session or request to be matched with the right provider.
Welcome to the Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Foojan Zain. I'm a psychotherapist and author and the founder of the International Awareness Integration Institute. Today, I will be talking with Tom Tenney. The Weight of Grace is his debut story, born from a vivid dream and a heartfelt conversation about the invisible burdens we all carry. It was inspired by the phrase, "Take up your cross and follow me," and deeply influenced by A Liberated Mind by the book A Liberated Mind by Stephen C. Hayes. Tom writes with a focus on compassion, resilience, and the quiet strength found in human struggle. With a bachelor's degree in psychology and an MBA, as well as 5 years of experience as a therapeutic foster parent, Tom has learned the transformative power of listening and empathy. It was great to speak with him. I'm sure you will enjoy this conversation as much as I have. A lot of opening of what empathy is, what grace is, what compassion is, and how he has not only brought it into his book, but some of the social experiments that he's done. So very intriguing, and some of them you can actually do at home with anyone. So it's an amazing interview. I really enjoyed it, and I'm positive you will also do. Now, be sure to subscribe to this podcast, my YouTube channel, and connect with me through my website, foojanzane.com, or any of my social media platforms. Share your thoughts with me. I love, love, love to hear from you. Now, without further ado, here's Tom Tenney.
Listen up if you want to promote your personal growth and self-awareness. I found the Foojan app last month and I have been absolutely loving it. I personally have never learned guided meditation, but thanks to this app, I now have learned incredible tools for my own stress relief and emotional self-awareness. Not to mention, there are self-evaluation tools and professional coaching available to utilize however your journey to self-discovery takes you. Join Foojan today and redefine your life one step at a time.
Now, sometimes the mind understands, but the body still holds the stress. That's why the International Awareness Integration Institute Virtual Clinic offers mind-body services that help you regulate your nervous system, restore calm, and return to yourself physically, emotionally, and mentally. Our reflective practices include guided mindfulness, breath work, yoga, and grounding exercises, and specifically curated to support emotional regulation and physiological calm. Our somatic integration practices are a refined body-led approach where healing begins with presence, working with breath, sensation, posture, and gentle movement so resilience becomes felt, not forced. And for those who want deeper whole person support, we offer functional well-being guidance, addressing the interplay between hormonal balance, digestion, sleep architecture, and lifestyle factors with a root cause holistic framework. This is not self-care as a luxury. This is self-regulation as a life skill and a pathway to fulfillment. Choose the support your body and life have been asking for. Visit awarenessintegration.com to join a weekly meditation, explore somatic healing, breathwork, yoga-inspired movement, or functional medicine services, and start feeling the difference.
So excited to have you with us. Tom Tenney, everyone. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Foojan. It's nice to be here. I'm so glad to be able to spend some time with you. Thank you.
You had sent me the audio book of The Weight of Grace, and I started listening to it, and it really had a profound kind of like a warmth. I can't even say effect because it was beyond just an effect. It was this warmth. It was like this heartfelt warmth that sat in my like somatic experience in my body. And so one of the things that I really loved about the book is the way you define grace. The name of the book is The Weight of Grace, and the way you share about grace. And I'd love for you to share with that. But before we do that, I want you to start to say, what was the process of you wanting to write this book, wanting to share this book, and the way that you had kind of progressed in sharing that?
Sure. I think really with many of us, we all start our journey in progress and change with something difficult. There's something that we're facing. Some of us, it could be sickness. It could be we lost our job. I mean, there's so many painful things that we go through, and I am just like everyone else was going through something very hard at the time. And I had a really poignant dream that really hit me hard. And I at the end of my dream, which is at the end of my book, I woke up and felt this really strong desire to learn more about the concept. And the concept is burdens. What do they mean? Why do we have them? When we go through hard times, we often ask why. Why me? Why do I have to go through this? And so I decided to create a Google alert of all things. And I was like, well, if the answer is maybe it's out there on the internet. And I just ignored it for 2 years, Foojan, and life kind of got busy. And one day I was cleaning out my email because I was getting to full max memory on there. And I saw all of these. There was hundreds and hundreds of these Google alerts. And I was like, well, I don't want to have wasted the space. Maybe I'll just take a look and see what I can learn from some of this. And Foojan, I spent hours and hours reading people's personal experiences about burdens, about what they meant to them, how they've changed them. Some of them were just so depressing and so painful to read, and others were so enlightening. And when I went through all this research, I spent hours, I've received a little bit what I like to describe as revelation to myself of the reason for struggle. And often struggle is not meant to break us. It's really meant to show us who we are underneath that struggle. And it really defines us. And so that's really what inspired me is I wanted everyone to be able to experience and learn what I have learned from my research and reading everyone's personal stories. And most of all, Foojan, what I wanted was to reach out to each one of them. So I emailed every single person that was in those Google alerts, and I thanked them. And I said, hey, John, Samantha, this Christian church, this Muslim church, this podcast, thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your struggles with me and what they've done for you, because they've helped change me. And that's really what got people to really enjoy it and go, wow, this wasn't just Tom wanting to create a story and just check off a box. It had meaning. And I wanted them to know how grateful I was for their vulnerability and sharing the difficult things.
Beautiful. Now share about the definition of grace as you've experienced it and it's shared within this book.
Yeah. Before I started looking into the concept of grace, I always thought grace was having a burden removed. Grace was, I'm going to take the challenge away from you so that way you can be happy. But I've also learned that anything of value comes with challenge. And grace is not something that is just given to you freely, in that it is given to you freely, but it's not meant to take away challenges. It's meant to help you to be that for someone else. You think about it, more than anything, what we want is we want to be understood. When I'm suffering, I want somebody to understand what I'm going through. And the only way that someone understands what I'm going through is when they have empathy, they understand, they've experienced that. And so for me, grace is having the struggle become consecrated to my gain and to the blessing of other people. So that way I can help bear their burden and be that support and understanding. That's what I've understand grace to become for me, is vulnerability, strength, and compassion.
Absolutely. As you know, I've been a therapist for 35 years and sit with people's pain and burden all day. And I know personally, when I've gone through different childhood issues, whether it was like a sexual abuse, divorce of the parents, coming to, US very early in my teen years alone, and kind of raising myself, I know that for many, many, many years, as I was going through this, it was this level of a victimhood that I had about, why me, why me, why me? And what's wrong with me that this happened to me? And I know that as I went back and kind of went through therapy and really, created what I meant, what I changed the meaning to, or how I looked at things. And then the awareness integration theory that we designed, it has a lot to do with how to interpret the events that have happened, where I can also see the resilience, side by side, the vulnerability. And part of what I was sensing as I was going through your book, it's this beautiful homage to not only vulnerability, but also look at how we've handled those vulnerabilities, how we've handled those burdens, and how, although we might not look at it or give it a lot of weight, even, going back to your book, not giving it a lot of weight, because we get stuck in the vulnerability and we're not necessarily seeing the resilience, the power that we're holding while we're holding that type of a burden. And sometimes you can't see it in yourself until there's a representative of that compassion outside of you, which then you can see yourself in that mirror. You can see someone loving you, where at that moment you allow yourself to also see that, feel that, and experience that.
That's so profound, and that's exactly what I wanted to communicate. Foojan is one of the characters, two characters in the story. There's a father, his name's Damien, and his daughter. I'm not going to give a whole lot away, but they come in contact in this, and their conversation does facilitate that, where he did not feel like he deserved any grace. But she helped communicate to him the phrase, "You hurt where you care." And so when you're doing self-reflection, if you're hurting and somebody's hurt you, it allows you to go, wait a sec, if I didn't care about this relationship, then it wouldn't hurt so much. And it allowed her to have a little bit of healing and him to experience a little bit of grace. He had a long way to go, but it was very eye-opening for him. And I appreciate you communicating that. That's exactly what I want to share.
Yes. Now, partially your experience, or the way that you had written it, it has to do with a spiritual experience, which from your perspective of the, showed up with the Christianity, because it also the holding the cross and moving along with the burden, and the resilience, the power of holding the cross, and no matter what happened, you were gonna the concept of your faith and values and all of that was holding. And I know that we're talking, we're bringing spirituality, we're bringing humanity, we're bringing psychology. You shared about Ace and Stephen Hayes, which I love him a lot, and I've had him on my podcast. He's a wonderful, wonderful therapist, psychologist, and so you've brought a lot of these three factors together: the spirituality, you've brought humanity, and psychology, all of them together. Can you share about the affiliation of these three components as you have written the book, and you're bringing it into different projects? I really want you to share your project with us.
Sure. Yeah. Wow. Where do I start? I've learned that really psychology, spirituality, humanity, all of these things are interrelated. The way that we approach them are going to be different. And my goal in this book, honestly, Foojan, wasn't strictly to be a Christian-based book. If you look in the history, crosses weren't the only source of, or the Christians weren't the only ones that were tortured by crosses. It's been for history, lots of different groups of people. And I wanted to communicate just struggle and something that we can all relate to. And in regards to the psychology of things, yes, I love Dr. Stephen C. Hayes and his concepts about acceptance and commitment. I wanted to be able to really tie spirituality with a objective viewpoint of struggle and pain that we go through. Another book I highly recommend is Man's Search for Meaning, and talking about struggles in that book as well. But really what I wanted to be able to do was create an environment for people to recognize their burden, separating it from who they are, and be able to see humanity in each other's struggles. Though they're different, they're no less poignant. We often, when I'm facing a struggle, whether it's a loss of job, temptation, anger, frustration, no matter what thing we go through, we associate our identity with what that is. We say, I am angry. I am hungry. I am sad. But Dr. Stephen C. Hayes helps us to separate the emotion from who we are and take an objective curiosity to that, which gives us a power to act on it. Instead of going, I'm going to succumb to whatever this is, this anger, I'm going to lash out. I go, I know what my body's trying to do. It's trying to cope. It's trying to gain homeostasis. And I appreciate my body's attempt to do that. But I'm going to use my will and I'm going to make this choice instead. And it's the same way with the challenges that each of us face. So, Foojan, what I did is one day I decided to do a social experiment. I was talking with my wife. I was like, I want people to be vulnerable, but be in a safe environment. How do I do that? And how do I help people know that I care about their struggles? And I would really appreciate it if somebody cared about mine without having to disclose private, information. So I went to a local park and I put up a little card table and I had a sign that said, "What are you carrying?" An invitation to silently sit and reflect. And I sat and I had some music on and I sat for about half an hour just waiting and watching people read my sign. And I had some people look at it and you could tell they wanted to sit down and they just didn't have the courage at the moment. But then I had a gentleman come and sit down and he was covered in tattoos, piercings, and he just sat down and sat and reflected for a little bit and started writing in the journal. I had a little journal on the table there. And then I held up a sign that said, without saying what it is, are you carrying something heavy that most people aren't aware of? And he nodded in silence. And then I held up another sign that said, what would it mean to you if you knew somebody else carried the same burden? How might you treat them differently? And he went and started talking to the camera about struggles in life. And he said, if you just hold on to what you know to be true and have, courage and keep going, that it'll end up positive for you. And then I held up another sign that said, what would it mean to you if someone knew what you were struggling with and chose to stay? And I chose those specific words, Foojan, to mean two things. One, they saw what you were going through and they chose to stay with you and support you. And two, for those of us who have struggles of going, why am I here? If they knew about the struggle you had and you chose to stay because you're needed. And after that one, he kind of get a little squirrely because you can tell that this was opening up his heart to things. And then I held up a small sign that says, in front of me is a small box with items that represent some of the burdens and trials that we carry. And in there, I have items like this. I have a rock with a bunch of holes in it. I have this little statue of a young lady holding a little puppy, and it's broken into lots of pieces and haphazardly glued back together. I have this chain. I have an old rusty wagon that hasn't been played with in years. I have all these various items and I invite them to pick up the one that represents what they're carrying. And he picked up this rock with the holes in it and sat and held it for a minute. And then I held up a sign that said, will you allow me to stand beside you for a moment and hold your burden while you hold mine? And I picked up my burden, and I went to hand him mine and him hand me his. And the point was we were going to stand by each other in front of the camera, just hold each other's burdens. And instead of standing beside each other, he pulled me in. It's a complete stranger, never met this man in my life. And he just cried in my shoulder, bawled my shoulder for about 5 minutes. And we just embraced. And when he was done, he said, "You have no idea what this means to me, because I've always felt alone and that nobody cared. And you as a stranger were willing to be vulnerable with me." And he disclosed some of the trials that he was going through, and for his privacy, I'm not going to share what those are. But it was really neat to be able to connect. And it was because we were vulnerable. We were able to build that trust with each other quick. And so my mission in my life, because of this book, is to help people to recognize grace in their lives and show someone compassion. And Foojan, it might start off with just them. Showing yourself compassion and recognizing you're a human being who has faults, who has these tendencies that they don't make you bad. They just are part of your life that you have to work through. And so I have decided to make that my mission. I have a website. It's called theweightofgrace.com. And on there, I have a place where people can share stories. And I invite everyone that I meet to find one person to show compassion to. Just one. And it could be so simple. It could be when you're in the grocery store, if you see someone with a slight smile. I've done this so many times and I love it. I go to them, I say, "You know what? You have a beautiful smile." And they just brighten up and they're so happy and they're like, "Thank you." Or I've gone up to people and said, "I just want you to know you're a beautiful person." And just had people just break down in those moments. And so I just want the people to recognize they're not alone in their struggles and that we're here for each other. We need more now, more than ever, to show compassion. And the last thing that I'm doing is I'm in the process of creating an app, and it's Spreading Grace. I haven't decided what the title of it is yet, but on my website, I'm going to have a running tally as people recognize people showing compassion, whether you decide to do it or you see someone that's being compassionate towards you, you click on it, and I'm going to have this tally show on my website. And my goal and desire is for it to go ding, 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 and just grow and share stories and partner with organizations that want to show that compassion. So I am also donating 10% of all of my revenue from my book with organizations that I've created partnerships with. And they're on my website. And if you have a nonprofit that you would love to be able to bless their lives, I connect with them on my website. You're welcome to say who that is, and I will reach out to them and create a partnership to spread compassion. So I appreciate you letting me just be a fire hydrant, but that's what I want to do.
Oh, there's a beauty in that. As you were sharing, this question came up for me as you define it. I have, some definitions in my world, but as you define it, what is the difference that that you would say is the difference between grace and compassion?
Yes, I'm so glad that you asked that. So grace is kind of like empathy, where it's how you see someone. You see them as not an obstacle. You see them as a human being who has struggles, who is just like you in so many ways. So grace in mine is how I see others. Compassion is how I respond and act in relation to how I see other people. Compassion is I see you, I value you, I honor you, and I honor the struggle that you're carrying. Compassion is I'm going to take it one step forward. And I'm going to do something to hopefully help alleviate that, or to at least bring knowledge and light to that and say, I see you. And I've created this wristband also. It's it says, honor the struggle. And I give it to everyone that came and sat down with me. And I said, I want to honor your struggle. And this is a good reminder just to see other people the same way. So compassion is grace with action.
Yeah, my experience with grace is it let's say generativity of love and acceptance inside. Like you said, it's a state of being. Like I inside of me hold that space that all beings are within, this love and acceptance of all that is. And then the compassion is how I connect to you and connect my world to your world and kind of see your world and accept your world and love your world. And then that's where, the transferring of and connection of my world and yours shows up as compassion.
I love it.
That's how it was showing up for me as we were talking about. So the social experiment that you did, it's profound, is to have that. And what is it that you found after being, in that park for so many days? What were your experience with all of it?
Yeah. It was really interesting to see different people's responses. I had some people come up and say, what you're doing is a good thing. I just don't have the courage to sit down. And I had one gentleman, as I'm walking to my car, he stops me. He goes, hey, did you get anyone to sit down with you? And I said, yeah, I did. And he goes, wow, they sure had a lot of courage to sit down. And I said, hey, I want you to know this is not meant for you to disclose what you're going through. It's just to recognize that you struggle. And he goes, you going to be here next week? And I said, yeah. He goes, maybe I'll come and sit down next week. Maybe if you're here, I'll come and sit down. So I learned that we long for that. We long to be vulnerable, but a lot of us have had our trust broken. It's been destroyed by those that we care about. We don't blame you. If you have to you create a not a barrier, but something to protect you, that's okay. Absolutely. We have barriers that we need to create. But I think that if we can be encouraged to be vulnerable in safe spots, that we'll be able to have that connection. And ideally what I want, Foojan, is I want for people to do the same thing I did here in Phoenix, in Los Angeles, and New York City, and Baltimore, and Tennessee. I want this to just spread where people do the same thing. And share with me your video so we can have it represented everywhere where people just connect with each other. That's really what I want. I would love that so much.
Everyone, The Weight of Grace by Tom Tenney. It's he says, at first my suffering, let me see, I have to put my at first my suffering felt pointless and trivial. Now it is of infinite worth. It has become sacred. First my pain was damning. Now it helps make others free. At first my eyes were shut, wincing in pain. Now they see clearly. So everyone, please get this book, The Weight of Grace by Tom Tenney. Tom, anything we haven't shared that you really want people to know?
I want people to feel they're not alone. And that may sound silly or cliche, but I think there's a lot of people who feel alone. I met with a young man also that felt alone, even though he's surrounded by people all the time. I want you to feel that you're not alone, and that there is peace, there's comfort that does exist, and it will come. And if it doesn't come when you're expecting it, it will help you become stronger, and you can be that comfort for someone else when they need it most.
And it's so true that sometimes just being at the service of others it will trigger for us all the different ways of being. Like many times where I've felt I'm good, done the work on myself, and then I have a client come in with a certain experience, whether it's a burden for them or a certain experience, and it absolutely triggers another part of me that needs to be worked on or shared or explored or looked upon. So many times, just by being a listener to others and a service to others, it keeps opening up our horizon. It keeps opening up, the different levels of our own opening and possibly burdens that we were holding as maybe a conversation of society, right? Like maybe it wasn't an experience that we had, but we were caught into a societal conversation, and then that had become a burden. It wouldn't allow us to move. Or there was a trauma, there was something that we had held and we forgotten, and then we kind of shoved it somewhere because it was too painful. And just being with, even allowing ourselves to be in that level of compassion with other people and connecting. It's amazing how much we keep opening up. And this concept of the connection with compassion, it brings people closer together, especially in an era that everybody feels alone, possibly because of the social media and everything that's happening. But, the epidemic of the loneliness is across the world. So this creation of a safety that we could create with each other through that grace and compassion allows, and like you said, we don't need to know the stories. I've had people who've come to therapy and they were withholding, and it's like, it's okay, we can go through trauma healing without me ever knowing the details of your story. That can be sacred to you. And that's okay. Even I teach at Cal State Long Beach, and many of the classes I offer them like guided journaling to go through. And I even share with them, I don't even need to know your story. I just need to know your process and how we could go, how are we going through the process of whatever that burden is. And part of what you had created with the table and sitting, it's the same thing. Like I don't need to know exactly. If you don't want to share, I'm here to hear you if you want to share, but I don't necessarily need to know that we all share the concept of having some burden, having some stuckness, having definitely vulnerability, and how we could, watch our own resilience and power inside, and how we could be there for each other to give the resiliency and the power. That's, so thank you for what you're doing. And I hope that companies and organizations, as they're hearing our show, that they would reach out to you. Where can people reach out to you?
Yeah, really that my website's probably the best, or because there's a contact me there. It's theweightofgrace.com. Or you can do the weightofgracebook@gmail.com. But on my website's probably the quickest way to get a hold of me.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
Oh, you've made my day, Foojan. Thank you so much for spending the time with me and allowing me to share what's important to me.
And for all of you who are out there, create an amazing life for yourself and everyone around you. And until next week, bye-bye.
Awareness, integration theory, certification programs. If you're a psychotherapist, clinician, or coach ready to elevate your impact, I invite you to become certified in the Awareness Integration Theory, AIT model. AIT is a structured, evidence-informed approach that strengthens emotional regulation, reduces anxiety and depression patterns, and helps clients create lasting change. Our training is practical, clear, and immediately usable in sessions, so you can work with more confidence and consistency. Join a global community of practitioners shaping the future of integrative mental health. Become AIT certified today. Visit awarenessintegration.com.